Should be much better. Growl, growl, prowl, prowl. So I just wanted to make a quick video on Resident Evil 8 DLC and my thoughts about it. So basically what we have, by the way, hold on, what is this, 480p? Get the hell out of here. Basically what happened was during E3 2021, Capcom announced that they were going to have DLC for Resident Evil 8 and that they were just starting on it. It said something like, thanks to voracious demand, we have now started working on DLC for Resident Evil 8. And I'm like, yeah, what did you think was going to happen? Of course we want DLC. You guys had it ready for Resident Evil 7. Resident Evil 7, guys, the more and more I think about it, it is the greatest DLC that I've ever played in any video game. Not only because of its depth and length, but because of its variety. There's so many different things in Resident Evil 7. You got the basement DLC, you got the bedroom DLC, the daughter's DLC, a story DLC about Zoe pre-Resident Evil 7. You got the end of Zoe, where it's still more story DLC talking about Zoe after Resident Evil 7 takes place with Joe Baker. You got Ethan Must Die, one of my favorite game modes ever in any game. And you have Jack's 55th birthday, which is also one of my favorite game modes in any video game ever. Along with the 21 card game with Lucas, like there's a card game, a brutal horror style card game. It's just miraculous. 10 out of 10 DLC is what. Then you have Not a Hero at the end, Chris's campaign DLC with shooting. It's the greatest DLC I've ever played, and they dolled it out throughout the whole year. Like, the game came out, and then like a couple weeks later, they did some DLC. A couple months later, they did some DLC. And then at the very end of the year, they did Not a Hero for Chris. So it's like, they had a lot of that ready. They knew DLC was coming. They weren't waiting for the fans' feedback to begin building it. And I'm like, are you guys kidding me, Capcom? You guys just started the DLC? This should have been being built back in January of this year. You should have started it, That way we could get 2 or 3 DLCs throughout the year. One for the summer, one for the fall, and one for the winter. Because I'm worried now, it's like, if this is all we're going to get until the Game Awards, it's just the base game of RE8, that's definitely not going to be enough for Game of the Year, 100%. It won't be enough to win Game of the Year. It still, I believe, does deserve to be on the list, though. Regardless if there's DLC or not, I think the game itself deserves to be on the list for Game of the Year. That's my personal opinion. But if DLC comes out and it's great, and you had 2 or 3, and they came out before the Game Awards, and they delve into Lady Dimitrescu, into Alcina's background, Heisenberg's background, Moreau's background, and Donna's background, their past, the Villagers' past, future, whatever. If you tied that all up, had a nice bow tie like Resident Evil 7, this is Game of the Year hands down. Hands down. You could fix a lot of the qualms that people had with the base game in the DLC. So it makes me really sad. RE2 had very good DLC as well. Bloodborne, Last of Us, Bioshock Infinite, Burial at Sea. Yeah. So Bioshock 2, I think, had some great DLC as well. What was it, Minerva's Den? Did I just come up with that out of nowhere the first time I thought about it in years? I think it was Bioshock 2. I don't think it was the first one. I think it was 2 that had Minerva's Den. What a fantastic DLC. Story DLC. So I'm happy we're getting some for Resident Evil 8. It deserves it. I'm just upset with Capcom that you guys would sit there and think, even for a moment, like, oh yeah, let's just make the game and see how it does, and if it doesn't do well, we won't make DLC. No, you should have been like, yeah, we know this is going to do well. You should have confidence in your product, You should know it's going to do well. You're Resident Evil, for God's sakes. It's a numbered game. As long as you don't totally go insane like RE6, it'll do fine. And you make DLC for us, man. What is RE5's DLC? What was it called? Lost in Nightmares, I believe. Fantastic, So please, Capcom, focus on the villagers and the 4 bosses and getting into their backstory. And that's it. And you got yourself a 9.5 game out of 10. Masterpiece, really. Okay. Thanks for watching, guys. Let's hope that we get something. If it was up to me, we'd get 4 or 5 DLCs from Resident Evil, and each one would be story focused. It would be, And then it would have story focus along with something else, some kind of weird little thing. Like, because I love the card games, I love the horde mode thing. Type in basement or whatever it was called, a Nightmare and Night Terror, I think it was called. Oh yeah, and the bedroom DLC where Marguerite's trying to get you. It's just so good, RE7s. But yeah, so I would have like main storyline for the villagers and all 4 of the houses. I'd give their backstory and stuff like that. And maybe even a little bit into the future. Like, I still want to believe that we can save these people, that we can bring them back from the Mutamycete. Like, find their consciousness and bring them back and give them a body again. Assuming, as long as they weren't evil to begin with. Like, I really hope the 3 daughters and Alcina weren't evil to begin with, living up in the castle. But yeah. So DLC for RE8, when do I think it's going to come out? I think we might get, if we get anything, we might get 1 this year. But then everything else will probably be next year. I can't imagine them. Because, it's already mid-June. It's going to be July. Like, they'll probably announce it in, August or September. And it'll probably come out in October or November. And then that's it for the year. Maybe they'll squeeze one in December, January, February, March. But, yeah, if I had to guess, I'm thinking there's going to be 2 DLCs. If I had to guess, based on the way they wrote that, it didn't seem like they had a plan. It didn't seem like they had things set in stone. So I'm guessing there's going to be 2. They'll probably do 1. And then maybe another one after that. But definitely 1, obviously, because I said it. But I think there's going to be 2. I hope there's 4 or 5. I hope there's lots of DLC. Little mini chapters about... Doesn't have to be too long. An hour, 2 hours for each playthrough of the DLCs. And just give us some time with these characters, man. Let us really dive deep and fall in love with them even more. All right, that's it. Take care.